Hi there. Today we'll be covering strut replacement on our 2012 Ford Mustang. This will be the first in a series of videos covering repairs and modifications to the car. So let's get to it.
I wanna get better, yeah. Better, yeah. Every day I wanna be just fine, yeah. And the more I wanna act right, this is my calling, yeah.
So let's begin by removing the strut from the left front of the car. We start by jacking the car up. To do that, we'll need a 1/2-inch drive ratchet, a 1/2-inch drive extension, a 21mm deep socket, and the wheel lock. We'll only lift the car partially and loosen partially all 5 lug nuts. Now that we've partially loosened the lug nuts, we'll finish jacking the car up to get the tire up off the ground. Now we'll remove all 5 lug nuts and remove the tire from the car. This is the existing strut, wheel hub, and brake rotor in place prior to disassembly. Now we'll finish jacking the car up and put a jack stand in place to support the car. First, we'll remove this clamp holding the brake line in place on the strut. To do that, we'll use a 3/8 drive ratchet and extension with a 10mm socket. We'll also remove the plastic clamp holding the ABS wire to the strut in place. Next, we'll remove the sway bar link from the strut. To do that, we'll use a 1/2-inch drive ratchet and extension with an 18mm deep socket and a 17mm open-end wrench on the back side of the strut. This step can be a little bit difficult, so take your time. Next, we'll remove these 2 bolts that hold the hub and brake rotor assembly to the strut. We'll place the jack under the hub brake rotor assembly to help support it. We'll use a 1/2-inch drive breaker bar and the 18mm deep socket to break the bolts loose. We'll then use the 1/2-inch drive ratchet and extension with the 18mm deep socket to complete removal of the bolts. Now we can remove the hub assembly and brake rotor from the strut. Finally, we can remove these 4 nuts that connect the top of the strut to the strut tower. Once these 4 nuts are removed, the strut will come out from underneath the wheel well. To do this, we'll use a 3/8 drive ratchet and extension and a 3/8 drive 13mm deep socket. Remember that when you're removing the final nut from the top of the strut, you'll need to keep a hand on the strut from underneath the wheel well so that it doesn't just fall out. And now we remove the old strut from under the wheel well. Here is the old strut compared to the new one, which is a Monroe quick strut. As you can see, it already has the spring in place rather than requiring spring compression prior to installation. Now we reverse the process. First, we insert the strut up through the wheel well. And attach 2 nuts at the top of the strut at the strut tower in order to hold it in place. Now we'll install the other 2 nuts at the top of the strut and snug them down. Next, we'll put the rotor and wheel hub assembly back into place on the strut using the 2 18mm bolts we removed earlier. Next, reinstall the wheel hub and brake rotor assembly to the strut using the 2 18mm bolts. Lightly tap them into place with a hammer, being careful to remember you need to have clearance, especially on the bottom, for the threaded clamps that go on the other side. Next, we'll reattach the sway bar link using the 18mm socket and 17mm open-end wrench. Now we'll tighten down the 4 strut tower bolts. Now we'll tighten the 2 18mm bolts that hold the hub and brake rotor assembly to the strut. And we'll tighten down the nut that holds the sway bar link to the strut. Finally, we'll reattach the clamp holding the brake line to the strut. Now we'll go ahead and remove the jack stand. Now we'll put the tire back on and snug the lug nuts down. Now we'll remove the jack and tighten down all the lug nuts. The left side is now complete. Now we'll repeat these steps on the right side of the car to complete the job. We hope you found this video helpful. If so, please like, subscribe, and comment so that we can continue bringing you more awesome content like this. If you successfully installed your struts by following these steps, please tag us and let us know. Thanks so much for watching to the end.
If you need to see more on food, music, DIY, beauty, fashion, and so much more, kindly subscribe to this channel for more awesome content, and also turn on the post notification bell so that every single time I'm going to make an upload, you are going to be notified. Thank you so much for the love and support, and I'm going to see you on the next one. Peace.